generally speaking, if you find yourself in a boring job, which you can do when you're with your eyes half closed, you're very lucky, because it means you have a way of earning money, of looking after yourself, and you can dedicate time to spiritual practice, to reading scripture, to listening to talks, to thinking about what you have heard and what you've read, and then putting it into practice. Can scriptures give liberation? No, not by themselves. For most people, are scriptures an essential aid to liberation? Yes. For most people, 99.9% of seekers, scripture is incredibly important. There's not a single mainstream spiritual tradition that doesn't have some kind of scriptural path. Not a single one. Even the ones that repeatedly and emphatically tell us not to rely on scripture have often an in-depth scriptural tradition. Bhagavan himself, his highest teaching was in silence. He himself wrote scriptures. He wrote some very short texts for us. Yeah. In Zen Buddhism, traditionally, the transmission of Zen enlightenment is beyond scripture. But what did the founder of Zen Buddhism do? Bodhidharma, said to be the founder of Zen Buddhism, he gave a copy of the Lankavatara Sutra to his successor, big fat scripture, handed it over to him and said, read this, everything as you need to know is in here. And in Zen, there's a huge scriptural tradition. They've written one of the most new scriptures that you'd see. And this is one of the traditions that emphasizes the need to go beyond scripture. And you can read volumes and volumes of Zen literature. And I have actually, as it happens. Not that I'm showing off, I'm just saying that there's lots of it there. So I encourage everybody here to read scripture, understand. There are a very short number of texts I've recommended. There are lots of other wonderful texts that I haven't included because I want to give you just the direct ones that I've come across. Pick one. I've suggested an order in which you read them. I've done that for a reason. You can follow my suggested order, or if you feel drawn to one of the other texts that's maybe number 5 or number 6 in the order, you go straight to the one you're drawn to. Read it. You will learn a lot from reading the scriptures. Bhagavan translated many traditional scriptures into his native language for a reason. If they weren't useful, he would have said, don't bother reading them. Just come to Satsang, just sit with me in silence. He didn't. He translated them. If you know the teachings, or if you are able to put the teachings into practice, you do not need to read the scripture. If you're consistently and successfully putting the teachings into practice and you understand them intuitively, you do not need to read the scripture. But for most of you, you'll need to carry on. Well, you'll need to start if you haven't, and carry on if you have started. You need to read the scripture. You'll learn a lot through contemplating on these verses. They're not very long scriptures. I don't want you to wade through pages and pages of stuff. I don't like reading long books personally on this stuff. I like the very simple, easy to read stuff. Please read the scriptures. The teaching is given in them. And it's done like this for a reason. If you don't like reading it, pick a really short scripture. There are some of the ones I've recommended are tiny, just maybe 3 or 4 or 5 pages long. And don't read it all at once. Read half a page. See what you think. Have a think about it. Read a verse. This is advice to help you. And when you come across stuff you don't understand, you can think about it for yourself and you can talk to me.